Comic books. Horror, sci-fi, which is it? What do you like? Well, today we've got a special guest, Mr. Jeofrey Cotton, with us today. And you may be asking, what does this have to do with comics? A whole lot than you can imagine. Today is going to be splendorific, everybody. Welcome to Two Geeks and a Microphone. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Two Geeks and a Microphone. I am your co-host, Mr. Stephen Boster, along with the one, the only, the most illustrious, the most crazy, Mr. Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom Land.
Well, hey, everybody. This is going to be an interesting episode today. I'm very excited. We've got a special guest that Mike's going to introduce here shortly, but we're going to be talking all kinds about comic books, Kickstarters, horror, because, you know, it is October, by golly. And then we're also going to be talking sci-fi and the whole comic books realm. And so I'm pretty excited. Mike, who do we have with us today?
Well, we have a most splendorific, horrific comic book creator, Jeofrey Cotton. Thank you for joining us, Jeofrey. Or Jeofrey.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. So it's Jeofrey, right? I got to get that right. Jeofrey.
You got it. Mm-hmm.
I got it in my head that it's Jeofrey.
Either or. It's all right.
That's all right. It's all good, man. So, we're gonna start off with our Geekdar. I'm looking for my Geekdar segment here. All right, yeah, I have no geeky news this morning, Steven. So we're gonna jump right into the Geekdar, and then
sounds good.
We'll get into the other stuff.
Control the radar, sir. What's wrong with it? I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps. The what? The what? And the what? You know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. It's not all he's lost.
All right, and we've lost it too. So, all right. So up on my Geekdar, as it generally is, I have a comic book. So DC has put out a new series. Well, it's a mini series. It's going to be 6 issues long, and it is the Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong. And I had heard about this several months back, and I was super excited. In fact, we had it on the Geeky News back then, and it came out yesterday. So as soon as I got off work, I rushed to the comic book store and picked it up just so I could have it on our Geekdar this morning.
Right on.
That is the cover, which is pretty awesome. And then it's kind of a gatefold cover. I mean, you know, the back, it's hard to see with my green screen, but there's Kong. I did read the first issue, and I love it. It's fantastic. So the Justice League meets the Godzilla and King Kong from the MonsterVerse, from the current movies that we've been seeing, you know, in the movie theaters right now. In fact, the League of Doom, or what's the bad guys to Justice League? Anyway, they actually go to Skull Island and encounter one of those skull monsters that you see in the Skull Island.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Legion of Doom is what you mean?
Yeah, Legion of Doom. Thank you.
Yeah.
Slipped my mind. It was so funny. I went into Fantasy yesterday to pick the book up, and I was talking to one of the guys that works there, and he was like, yeah, it's a little ridiculous how they get Kong and Godzilla there. And I'm like, I don't care how they get them there. All I care is they're all fighting. That's all that makes a difference to me. But yeah, so far the first issue is amazing. I would love to cover the whole 6-issue series once it's done. So we'll see about figuring that all out when it finishes here in another 5 months. So
Very nice, Megan. Thanks for showing those again on the
yes,
screen.
thank you, Megan. So that's my Geekdar.
Okay.
I don't know if you got anything, Steven.
I'm still stuck watching the Y Files on YouTube. Loving
Nice.
it.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
show. Hecklefish.
Hecklefish. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
That guy, I like that show.
Yeah, I'm absolutely hooked. Absolutely hooked on
I've seen
that
most
show.
of them, I think, at this point.
Have you? Yeah. So normally comes out with a new show every Thursday night, but he's a little behind. So it tells me there's some pretty cool editing having to go into this new one. I'm not sure what the topic is, but
Nice.
I'm just really enjoying it. And I've even gotten into where he'll do live after shows so people can chime in and stuff like that. And I had not watched them just because, I'm in for the main content, but now I'm like a sucker. Now I'm going back to watch the live shows because he gives extra info or
Drop
kind of
him some
what's
dollars.
going up. Right.
That's what those are. It's like big tip jars, big digital tip jars.
I know, right? Yeah, it's amazing to watch how much people will drop.
Yeah, it's
those,
crazy.
so.
I've some of the guys that do the MCU leaks and stuff and the rumors and everything and confirmation that when I was speculating and getting really into that and trying to get out in front of the market that way, those guys they'll do those shows after their live watches or whatever, and people will just throw money at them. It's crazy. And they're great. They're great. They're funny and they're entertaining, but it's just like ridiculous amounts of money being made on the internet right now.
Right.
Like nothing. Just to talk to people about movies and stuff. It's great. It's awesome.
Right?
To create that kind of capital out of nothing. I'm a prime example of that from what I do with comic books and stuff. How I clean them and press them and buy them and sell them. You can make money out of thin air. If you know what you're doing.
Right.
Wow. Wait.
Marketing.
You clean and press comic books? Holy cow.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have to talk off the air a little bit.
Oh no, we'll be talking
I have a dealer level account now for CGC too. I've done a whole lot of CGC submissions for people over the last 2.5 or 3 years or so. Wow. And I've got it down to 4 machines. It's pretty streamlined, and I move through, try to do 4 a day, and then I can get a little backed up sometimes, but for the most part, it moves pretty consistently, and it's just another part of my business model, I guess, if you want to call it that. With the writing and the publishing, and then also buying and reselling books, like a digital brick and mortar, basically. At this point, I've got so much stuff to sell here, man. It's ridiculous.
We should move into the main portion of our.
I was gonna say, you guys are talking about. I haven't had a chance to keep up with new comic books at all, but I do pop into the shops. There's a couple around over here by me that are super supportive and really cool people, and I was in one of them the other day. I forget which one, but we were talking about the Wolverine is going to fight the Predator in this new series or whatever. And it's cool. My buddy that runs the shop, he was saying, man, he wasn't buying it. He was like, the Predator is really cool, but I don't know if he's going to be able to mess with Wolverine. We caught ourselves nerding out about the whole like monster versus, there you go. So I'm sure it's highly entertaining and stuff. But he made a point though, but like it's hard to kill Wolverine, so
right.
Okay. Let's analyze this for just a second. All right. So the Predator went up against Danny Glover and he went up against Arnold Schwarzenegger, and both of them are just regular guys. Now Arnold was kind of a super soldier in a way.
He's good. I love him in that movie.
But he's no Wolverine. Come on. So if the two of them can beat the Predator, I think Wolverine can beat the Predator.
Oh yeah,
right.
You make pretty quick work of them. It sounded like a fun story. I'm glad that Marvel was able to get their hands on those properties, Alien and Predator. Hopefully they do it justice and stuff. They were Dark Horse did a great job, and it was weird. Dark Horse was supposed to be doing some Star Wars stuff, and I don't know if they still are or what's going on with that.
Dark Horse did get some of the rights to Star Wars back. Marvel gave some of them the rights, and they're doing kind of like, it's like a little more kiddish stuff than what they used to do.
For like IDW.
It's weird because that's not usually Dark Horse's MO. So, but they did get some of it. I bought one of them and I just didn't care for it much, and But I
I
also
did-
have a ton of comic books that I
Yeah.
collect, and it's like, yeah, I just don't need this one.
I was heavy into the High Republic when it first came out, and they got the book, but I didn't quite finish the book with Starlight Beacon and all of that. And it's cool though. It's interesting to see them building out all this brand new world and area, of the Star Wars universe, and eventually they'll connect it all and have little interlocking pieces, and this and callbacks, and it'll be a lot of fun, I think, if it's handled right, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know yet. So I haven't got a chance to watch Ahsoka all the way through. It just doesn't pull me in like The Mandalorian does. I don't know what it is, but
Okay.
the child and Din Djarin, and Grogu and Din Djarin, man, that's just, I don't know. For me, that's all I really care about right now for Star Wars. I love Darth Vader and all the dark stuff, but they've been screwing that up, in my opinion, lately too. So without having to get into too much, and I'm not going to be too critical of anything, because I like to just be entertained, and as long as that's what happens at the end of the day, go do whatever you want to do. But there's certain stuff though that I like to nerd out to a little more than other stuff, and you can't mess that stuff up, because I'm going to give you hell if you do. You know what I mean? So
We're protective of
our
our
own opinions
favorite
and
properties.
do what?
I said we're protective of our favorite properties.
Right. And I think that's fair. We're the people like us have been the ones that have supported all of that over the years and made it what it is today. And so I think it's important that they remember that and honor the lore and the canon and stuff that was set in place a long time before they've ever come along. Whoever they are.
Oh, yeah, ain't that the truth? All right, well, let's jump into our main event. Then I think we're moving into that. So.
It's time for the main event.
All right, but we're not here to talk about Star Wars today. We will talk about it next week a little bit with Jeff and Zig of Nerdery and Murdery. When we come back and talk about Darth Bane, I'm looking forward to next week. Those guys, it's going to be a little fun. But until then, we got Mr. Jeofrey Cotton to talk about his book, Roseville.
And a whole lot more.
And a whole lot more. Yes. I'm sure we're going to go off into all kind of tangents with this.
Right. Well, hey everyone, if you're joining the show, we do a couple of things where we talk about geeky news and then Geektar, and then we have our main event. And with Jeofrey today, boy, that is so interesting. I'm so sorry. You probably get that all your life.
Man, early on, I didn't really like my name because it was too different. I want to be like Brian or James or whatever all my other friends were called. But as I got older, I kind of came into it, and I started embracing it the older I got. But yeah, early on, there was nothing yet to ever connect it to. Like the correlation was never there. I think like Coming to America. I think Eddie Murphy's dad was named King Jeofrey Joker, I think, of Zamunda.
Right.
He sure was.
As a kid, though, we were too young. That's an R-rated movie, and my parents didn't care. They'd let me watch that stuff, but your friends and your classmates can't. Most of them can't relate. They don't know what you're talking about if you make that. Or Joff. I guess you could call him Jeofrey the Giraffe. I think from Toys R Us. My mom would at least do that, and that was the only thing I had. Now that I'm older and Game of Thrones has come out,
right? I was going to ask you how many people connect
prison.
to. Yeah.
When I used to wait tables and bartend, I would hear that nonstop to the point where I would want to throw up. Man, it would just every single table I went to. Oh, like Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Right.
Man, it was it's hard to not be like tell somebody you're tired of hearing that shit. Pardon my
right.
But it was a good conversation. It's always a good conversation starter too, though. So I don't try to hold it against anybody because, a lot of people, it's not a very common name. So not here in the good old US of A, at least. So
right.
Well, I apologize if I slip into Jeofrey, but
no, it's okay. I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all.
Very gracious. Thank you. So.
Thank you.
Well, what's funny is we treat this kind of like a coffee table conversation. And so even as just before we already started getting into the show, we realized there's a whole lot more to Jeofrey than just the Roseville comic. But I'm going to post here in the chat everywhere to check out his Kickstarter page, and you'll see all the projects that he's working on. And then you can also get queued into any future projects that he has on Kickstarter. And what's really fascinating about it is, man, you were involved in a lot of stuff, and we were even joking about just a moment ago about just with the pressing of comics and being involved. Help us understand a little bit of all that you're involved with just the comics industry itself.
Okay, so well, plain and simple, like I love comic books and how they're the media and how stories are told through them, how the artwork blend seamlessly with the writing, and it's been great for me my whole life, and I've only recently come back to it. I got a job at a comic shop around here, and worked there for about 6 months, and then after I left there, that fire kind of still lingered. And so I decided to, it was just coming around the time that COVID was happening. I was on the internet more and more on Facebook, and in these comic book groups. And I saw how they functioned and how people would like do these sales and auctions and different things and figure out eBay and start getting back. And I was already still into all the new characters and everything. So from working at that place, and so I just kind of endeavored to try it myself. And I started selling some of the stuff I had, and one thing led to another. I liked selling books and stuff, so I started off that way. And then on down the road a year or so, I figured out this cleaning and pressing thing that was going on, and people were talking about this and that and how you can get better grades and whatever. And so I got into that, and I got a machine. There's a guy out here that I was working with, and I had him doing my stuff, and it was taking a while, and it's common. Like whenever I do it, it can take a long time sometimes for people to have to wait. And but anyways, and that was part of that was like the catalyst that made me want to be like, and money, having to pay somebody. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this myself. I'm just gonna buy a machine. And so I bought one, and then I had bought a second one, and then the third one, and eventually I had 6 of them. But one of them broke down, and the other one I didn't have any room for, so I let my brother have it. Maybe I was trying to get him to do some t-shirts, because we never got to do a t-shirt on a t-shirt press. So I figured, that would be kind of cool, because like this shirt right here, I paid, like over like it's like $9 or $10 for it online, and I could probably get it done for half the price if I learned how to do it myself. So I'm all about saving them dollar bills.
Right on. It's all about the cash money.
Okay, now
so I started. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. I'm fascinated with the whole pressing and cleaning of comic books, because I've never heard of anyone actually doing this, and this just fascinates. How do you clean a comic book?
Can you see those? Those are the machines behind me right there.
Oh wow! Yeah,
those are all 4 of mine right there. And then you clean them. There's a variety of ways to do it, and there's some. I do it one of the more simplified ways. It's still. Sorry, hang on one second. I'm maneuvered in here special way. The most basic way to break it down is you need a cotton ball and some type of art eraser or art gum, something that you can get that you can use to wipe off the backs of them. So most of the time, the only thing you're going to be able to clean is a white cover. You don't want to ever erase or any early erase. You don't ever want to erase on color. I'm just going to pull the color right off, and it's going to ruin the book.
So you're just kind of more brightening the whites in it, is what?
Yeah, sort of like that. It's like a hybrid form of restoration. It doesn't consider it's not considered restoration so long as you're not using chemicals or like taking away or adding anything to the book. And if CGC can pick up on that, no matter how small or big, like testing for steroids, then they'll hit you with a different color label and say this has been restored, and yada yada yada. But what I do is I don't use any chemicals. I just kind of keep it very simple. It's almost like I call it comic alchemy, just to be silly. But I mean, it is.
I like it.
It's creating a change in the books, And so I have that little tank. It's a humidity tank, is what I call it. And it's just kind of something that a buddy of mine put together, and he was using, and he gave it to me, and I've had it ever since. It works great. and you can put 1 or 2 books in there, and it's just natural. There's distilled water in like a basin, like a Tupperware box, and then the comic rests on top of that, on some cardstock, some real thick glossy cardstock for about an hour, and it gets the humidity, kind of the moisture kind of sets into the fibers of the paper, and then from there I can put it on the machine and hit it and run it through a couple times, and it gets a real nice clean press usually. But there's stuff I can't fix, all the time. It sucks. I have to leave stuff on the table because there's all sorts of techniques that some of these guys do that they're very skilled. And I've used a variety of tools, but I've always found that when I use those and I try to overextend myself, I can damage books, and that's how mistakes happen. So I try to stay grounded, and the way I overcome the inability to be as effective as some of these guys is through customer service, communication, always talking to people, letting them know their books are safe. And then on the back end of that, I do submissions for CGC. So a lot of people have never done it before. They're scared to send their books off. They could have somebody like me come in there and facilitate it for them. And so that's what I do. And that's how I've been able to sustain my business a lot on that side of things. And but I also I've gotten a lot of support from the people on Facebook. It's all been word of mouth. So I started off telling my buddy because I sell books, right? So I've got a big network, like 100, 200 people I could reach out to or try to talk to, and this and that. And one of my buddies sent me a beat up Secret Wars 8, I think, or is it ASM 252, one of the black suit books. And
Secret Wars 8 is one of them.
And it was cool. It came out and we got like a 2 or 3 point improvement. It looked like. I think I repaired the spine on it, because if you can do spine roll repair, you can really help a book score higher. And something happened, but we were both just like, wow. And so I sent it back to him, and he took a bunch of pictures, and it really kind of lit ignited that, set that ablaze for me. And from there, I just kind of took it and ran with it. And I've had a lot of fumbles along the way, but I've also scored a lot of touchdowns too. So it's nice to look back into, because there was a couple years ago, I'd be on Facebook like, man, it'd be so cool if somebody would trust me with their ASM 300 or their whatever. And man, I've done like a dozen of all of them now. It's really cool. Like to be able to look back in retrospect and like Hulk 181s and giant size X-Men 1. I did an 8.5, I think, on one of those. And a 9.8 for first Venom, that Amazing Spider-Man 300. That one's really hard to get for a 9.8. Those books have those black backs on them, and they're just unforgiving, man. They're heartless. So every single one you come across will have a spine tick, or at least one. So to get a 9.8 on that was really cool. The newsstand is a ghost. That one just doesn't exist. So it's crazy though, if you see those price differences, like on that book, for those that might not know or just be novice comic book collectors and stuff, those price differences really matter from that 9.6 to 9.8 on the newsstands. Man, they're crazy, because like the 9.6 for Venom is, I think, like $1,000, and then the 9.8 is like for like $5,000 or $6,000 or something. It's ridiculous. So that's where people that's what cleaning and pressing can do though, and that sometimes a lot of people might have unrealistic expectations, or they're brand new to it. They don't really know what to expect. So I just try to guide them through that, and I try to be transparent and let them know right off the bat, like, this I probably can't fix, this I can't fix, but this I can, this I can, So in a nutshell, I'm sorry to drag that out too long, but that's
fascinating.
I'm real passionate about it. And, it's because it's something that somebody out there came up with one day, and everybody else just kind of did it and started doing it. And some people have some sustainability with it. A lot of people now, they just do it recreationally as a hobby, to go with their comic collecting, because they want to have their books look a little nicer. So they'll teach themselves how to do it, and they'll just get 1 or 2 machines and they'll go to town. I've run into that now too a lot.
Neat, very neat. Yeah, I didn't know we were gonna be talking about this today. Cool.
Yeah, man, we can talk about it later whenever. You got all my information now and stuff. So anytime if you have questions or whatever.
Sure. Awesome. All right. Looks like Sage Page Omega's in the house. Good morning, Sage. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So I would like to get into your comic book a little bit. So you're are you getting ready to kick off your next Kickstarter for Roseville, or what?
Yeah, I want to. It might be on hold for a minute, so without having to get into too much details, Kickstarter's holding me up for that one, but not a problem or anything, but something that might have to wait a little bit longer. So okay. I'm waiting. It's ready to go though. I've got the preview page done. The video I might need to tweak just a little bit, but it'll all be ready when it very soon. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm eager and excited to get it started because I was hoping to have it ready to go the day before Halloween. That's perfect time for horror and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's a shame that you didn't have it ready for this time of year, because I think that's the perfect time to sell that. Can you give us a little background on Roseville? Tell us a little bit about what it's about and such.
Okay. Yeah, it's about a guy that's he takes a temporary job assignment, and he lives in Georgia, and takes a temporary job assignment out in like a rural part of it. It's just a little small town, never heard of it or anything. But he's an environmental engineer, and so they've got these little outposts all throughout the state, and they're monitoring soil, taking soil samples, and doing different things. But they have to have somebody on premises, at these little places. And he's just going like a lighthouse almost, and he's going to swap out, change out places with this other guy for a couple of weeks. And he gets out there and just doesn't get a good vibe. He's meeting some of these people are real standoffish and abrasive, and he's seeing stuff, like thinks he's having hallucinations. Maybe he's sleep deprived. He doesn't know what's going on, but he's just not off to a very good start in the first one, and it sets it up for the second one to see like what's to come. Where does he go after his first night there, and he's by himself and everything. And when he gets there and he gets settled into the outpost, the guy he's replacing tells him that this place is around here. There's a family that owns a lot of the land and the property. That's all he really knows. And he sees weird stuff, and I don't want to get into too much detail for anybody that might want to read it. And but he tells him that he doesn't know much, but he minds his own business. And so that's kind of where he leaves it at. Just he's suggesting and insinuating that the main character, the protagonist, Alex, he should mind his own business too, probably. And that's kind of where it leaves off at. There's a fun little cliffhanger at the end, but I don't want to give that away or anything. It connects to everything that the story will start with in number 2, and it's a lot of fun. It's I kind of compare it to like a blend of House of a Thousand Corpses and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the art's a lot of fun. Aaron Moran, he's an English guy. He's from England, and this is his first American comic book. He's done some other like adaptations, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and War of the Worlds, and then he's done some original stuff too. But this is his first time being over here in these waters, and just like me, like really getting out there and doing an ongoing sort of limited thing like this. And it's been a lot of fun working with him. He's real patient, understanding, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and he knows kind of what I'm wanting to achieve, because I'll do storyboards. I'm sure that everybody's creative process is different, but mine kind of it's real like freestylish, I guess, if I had, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And because just a lot of improvisation. For example, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I think you mentioned that you wanted to talk about End of Man, my sci-fi book, and that one I'm about to have to start lettering. It's all the pages are fully colored now, but when I go to letter that, I don't have like a script written out or anything written down like where the story is written like you would like a fictional novel. I'll just go on the page and I'll start lettering it. I've got all that digital. I do all that digitally myself, and that's been a whole process. If you were to look at my very first book compared to the one that just came out, there's still issues that need to be resolved and stuff. I'm still learning, but man, it's night and day compared to how I've done that. And I've had help along the way though. Like my buddy SK, he's a really he's like a full-time letterer, and he's really good. He's given me tips, and some other people as well. But it's a whole deal. I lost my train of thought. We were talking about.
No, this is really good. Yeah, well, really, you're talking about your creative process.
Sorry, that's it. Well, that was what it was. So I just kind of wing it, and I'll go in and I'll set stuff in place, and I'll kind of have a feel for what I want to do, and then I'll go on to the next page, and I'll come back and I'll see how it lines up, and if it syncs up. And all too often, like I'll have to do this like hundreds of times. Like I kid you not, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's like an obsessive thing, and even when the books come out, I'm like, oh, that's wrong. And I'm talking about like a period being off by like one space or something. Like I can catch it and it just drives me nuts. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun learning how to make these books and how to write the stories and how to, how to do it all. And it's a process though.
Yeah,
The more you can do yourself, the better off you're going to be. I'll tell anybody that wants to try to make a comic book, teach yourself or find people that can do stuff for as cheap as possible, because the artwork alone, if you're going to pay anybody a semblance of what they're probably worth, it's probably about $100 for a page of art. Comic books are 24 pages. You got covers and other stuff to account for. So just that alone, it can get a little expensive. So
sure.
Yeah, we learned that from Carissa. We had Carissa Grant on.
Yeah, Carissa's awesome. Shout out Carissa. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's been on two episodes of ours. And she was talking about the cost how much it cost her to get an artist.
Yeah.
And she just recently switched artists, and she's paying a lot more for the next one. So
yeah,
that is expensive.
Oh yeah. When I first got started, it was just a couple of guys that worked at a tattoo shop together out in Alabama, and Tom and Trey, and they were buying books from me, and we just kind of we were just kind of clicking one night and just said, we want to try to make a comic book. And Trey was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And so he came up with this little cover piece based on some info I think I gave him. And one thing led to another, and we had a book going, and we had like $4,000 in Kickstarter, and it was great. I got to pay them off, and there were like 100 backers, and that's what this is. Awful Thoughts. This was like my first horror passion project, and I hope to do another one day, but that one's going to be even more expensive. And so I just need to make sure that my network and my base and support system will be in place before I try to do something like that. Because if I don't have the help and the funding, then I have to bear the brunt of that. And I just can't afford to do it anymore after all these different projects and money that's been utilized and mishandled and handled properly in different realms.
Right.
So
it's a learning process.
Yeah, there's a learning process going on. And that's why people are patient, and they've been patient with End of Man, for example. It was the only project I've had that hit a snag. And I took a lot of pre-orders for that, tried to do it myself. Like about a year ago was when I first got that whole thing started. And so it's finally come full circle, and I'm really excited. Like I'll probably start writing some of it today, actually, because I need to get that done. And then the good thing is about Razor Wire McGuire, the other one that just funded, is that I didn't write it or letter it or anything. I'm just helping my buddies out to bring it to print and to publish it through Kingdom Comics. And it's all I have to do is set those pages in place and make sure they're sized right. And then I'll send those out to the people at Comics Wellspring. That's who I get all my stuff printed from. They're great. And they'll print them up. So I'll have these two books hopefully coming out very close proximity to each other within the next month or so. So that'll be fun. And then I can launch Roseville #2 at that point, I think.
Nice.
Right on. Very cool. Well, we've got someone who asked the question,
Sure.
what gave you the idea for this story? So I'm assuming that's specifically talking about Roseville.
Yeah. I would assume so. It's actually a really interesting story. The one of the books that I did a long time ago, it's been discontinued since then, but it was fun. It's called Birds of a Feather. And the first time when I first met Aaron, my buddy showed him this piece of this guy wearing this like pig head mask, and it was real weird and grotesque and strange and like beautifully bizarre. It was very, very like polarizing to me. I just like, wow, that's cool. And I reached out to him, and one thing led to another, and he gave me, or I paid him because he told me I could use the pig head cover for free, for an Awful Thoughts cover if I wanted. So I did, and then I paid him to do another one, which is going to be for this Birds of a Feather book. And it's supposed to be like Dia de los Muertos, I wanted it to be like this, like a witch, like a South American, but like a bruja, or like something really dark and creepy with like the candy skull mask and all of that.
Oh, cool!
Like a big old headdress and stuff. Because one of the issues was going to take place in that time period, like with and without having to get into that, when he gave me this piece back. The art piece, and it didn't really look anything like what we were going for, but it was neat. It was really cool, and that's what I ended up using for the Roseville. That's what inspired me to do the Roseville story, and that's what cover A is for #1. There's If you go back and you look at my first Roseville #1, there's the basic cover, the red one with there's a giant rose in the top left-hand corner. That everything from that cover that he drew on there that we couldn't use for that other story, the wheels started turning in my head. I'm like, how do I turn this cover, like this movie montage looking awesomeness? How do I take all that and put it into a story? And that's how I came up with Roseville. And it's heavily inspired by books by games like Resident Evil, Village, especially. Like that game was just awesome. And if you go into this book and read it all the way through, you'll be like, oh yeah, I can definitely see why he said that. And, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because of just different elements of all these different stories and things that I love and enjoy. I've kind of tried to throw into this mishmash kind of hodgepodge kind of story here. And I've got some really neat stuff I think that's exciting that people will like. And it's very violent and gory and unforgiving. It's like a dark take on the hero's journey. So you're just going to feel like real hopeless most of the time. There's not a whole lot of light, you know what I mean? So it'll be a lot of fun though. I'm really excited. And it's fun too, because this one has, it has symbols and stuff, and it's in a sense some people may say anti-religious or different things of that sort, but I've actually I've heard it already and stuff, because it deals with at its core, you've got this satanic cult that's sort of lingering around this town and stuff that Alex is going to get involved with, and they're going to try to take him out. And there's a lot of that, and there's story and explanation for all of that, and it's all fun. It's fiction, like I don't ever want anybody to get too concerned about that or anything, as far as like the satanic stuff. It's weird though. People are some people could care less, and then other people though I've have their concerns. It's very interesting to see how people respond to stuff like that. It's just a story.
Gotcha.
What you like best though about the process, especially with a horror comic? What has been like? Obviously we're in October and it's Halloween time and things like that, and people love to talk horror, stuff like that. But for you, why a horror film or a horror comic? What drew you to that?
Man,
I love the inspiration from the artwork. I saw some of that, but I was just curious for you. Ooh, I could do a really cool story behind all of this. What drives you for that?
So with horror, those are always, I love the blood and guts and the violent stuff and those kind of like movies and cartoons and stuff. I can't help it. I just love it. I grew up playing video games like Mortal Kombat, and that's probably why. But nevertheless, those stories you can get away with so much more. You can kind of just let it all hang out. You can do whatever you want usually, and you can get as weird and crazy as you want. I'm a big fan of stories that are a little off or kind of like unsettling and disturbing and stuff, like to just have this very high shock value and stuff. I really like that stuff. And I grew up like watching Tales from the Crypt and Creep Show and Tales from the Dark Side and all those.
Tales from the Dark Side I loved.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's kind of been forgotten about, I think, over time. I think they remade it though on Shudder or one of those channels. There's a whole Netflix of horror now, like Shudder, and I just love horror in general. And so that's why when I did my first book, Awful Thoughts, that's why we went in a horror direction. But then from there, things quickly kind of opened up, and I got opportunities to do other types of stories. That's where Birds of a Feather came about. That's about a little South American Latina hero, got a Batman kind of origin, where she has to go fight back against the cartels and use the limited resources that she has to do it. She's not rich like Bruce Wayne, so she has to rely on her family and her family and her wherewithal and all of that. And it was a lot of fun. We got 3 issues into that, and just the funding and the demand just really wasn't quite there, so kind of had to leave that be where it was at. And but then I also got an opportunity to work with these guys that were forming a crypto coin, and I don't know a whole lot about that part of it, but they wanted to make a metaverse and they wanted to world build, and they wanted to do it with this video game. That's their main piece, and then they wanted to have other media come in and set like pieces of canon in place for them and build lore. And so they had me come in and do these little short story anthology type of deal called the Legionnaire Files. and I did 3 of those, I think it was. And then the funding just kind of went there again. Like this was during COVID time, and then the market, the crypto currency took a big spill, and I don't think they ever rebounded from that, because he was going to get back in touch with me for another one. And they paid me really well. It was awesome. And I brought my buddy Tom on, who did this one with me, to do those stories. And but again, I'm still learning. We were still learning. Both of us were still learning back then. And we did some really cool stuff though. Set up some little canon stuff for them. And but I got some experience early on, and but it helped a lot. But also I feel like maybe it might have set me back a little bit, because I got real comfortable where I was at, thinking that this was all going to be, like good enough, and I kind of got in that comfort zone, and I didn't learn maybe as much as I could have, as quickly as I could have, but it's okay. It's it's not a race, so
it's a journey.
I just don't want to let anybody down, I don't want to let people down.
Oh, sure.
Let them, when they got to come through, whenever you say you're going to come through. So
sure thing.
That's what it's all about. But yeah, it's been good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, I'd like to move into a little bit of your sci-fi comic book and learn a little bit more about that. Now, what did you say the title was for that one?
It's called End of Man.
End of Man. Okay. And can you give us a little background on End of Man?
Yeah. So it's my first sci-fi book. It's got some horror elements. So I was trying to figure out a way to do sci-fi horror with it. And it's sort of it's organically evolving, and kind of, it's just amorphous blob right now. It's got some direction, but it could go it's like in a quantum state where it can kind of move however it needs to, according to how people respond to number 1. So I set out to do this with a former partner of mine, and we got the funding up front, and then we didn't really need to do Kickstarter. I tried to do some pre-orders. I did successfully do some pre-orders, and then we also did a Kickstarter to try to help out on the back end. It was black and white though, so it when I got the artwork back, it just didn't quite look right. It wasn't complete looking to me. So I had to go back and get guys to color it, and it's just taken a really long time for various reasons, and but man, the guys that did the artwork, they did a great job. I'm proud of them and happy that we finally have it done. So now it's up to me to go ahead and get it lettered and wrapped up and to the printer. And I've got some metal covers for it. I've got some cool virgin variants and a foil one. And do what?
I just said that's neat that you got the
have you guys seen the metal covers before?
No, I haven't.
No, I never. Oh man, they're great. They're these little real heavy, like actual sheet metal on the front of the cover. It's badass. They refract the light real cool, and they're nice. People like them. People eating them up. So they're neat though. Those are cool. And then I just got into making my own holochrome covers too, and they're a little expensive also, but not as much as the metal. So and all that stuff's a lot of fun. It's neat to get your cover art and then figure out how you want to market it and what you want to do with it. And being like a freelance amateur graphic designer, I can kind of I can take some creative liberties, and I can kind of shape that and have more control over that than the average person. And it's fun getting to go in there and work on Photoshop and make things and be like, oh man, it's so cool. Like I got into the homage covers and wanted to make those real early on because it's just trendy and easy and fun. And we did some neat ones though. One of them that never got to get printed or utilized, I don't think yet at least, is we did an Altered Beast, the Sega Genesis, the arcade game, they had a really neat cover for one of their game. And we used that, and it's like this, it was a zombie story that I was going to help these guys kind of create and build and do. And it had the zombie guy, like the main guy, and on the, as a homage for that cover. And man, it came out great. It was so cool. And that's just another thing that's just kind of they come and go, and you take that and you learn from it, and you try to put that in your pocket and keep on moving. It just feels like it was just a couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Now CGC will give me my own yellow labels. Like the first time when Awful Thoughts came out, I had to get CBCS to do it, and I'm not knocking them or anything, but my preference would be CGC, and a lot of people I believe prefer CGC still. So that's kind of just the gold standard for what has been for a while. And it's going to be neat. I've got 20 copies, different covers, all coming back soon for some graded books that I've done that I signed myself. And it's going to be really exciting to see all those yellow labels. So they're coming soon for anybody that might be watching and is waiting on one.
Nice.
Probably nobody.
What has been your favorite part of the process? I mean, creating these books and working with artists and, developing the stories, or, what has been kind of like, what gets you up in the morning where like, yeah, I can't wait to do this part of the project? Or
it varies from book to book. And I'm, by the way,
fair.
I didn't get to tell you. You asked me to talk a little about what End of Man was about, right? We can double back to that if that's. Did you ask me? Okay, I got again. I get off on these tangents, man.
It's all good. It's just a coffee conversation. This is fabulous. This is great.
Part of the process that I enjoy the most is getting to see so I was telling you earlier, I do stick figures for when I'm building out this idea in my head. I try to visualize it like a storyboard for a movie would go, or an animation or something. And so I can't draw very good. So I'll do little stick figures or just little half-ass attempts to kind of put things in the framework of these panels that I just kind of draw, and whatever is in my head, I just boom, boom, boom. Okay, here's a splash page. Okay, here's 4 panels in this one, yada, yada, yada. And I'll make it work like a puzzle, and so I'll go and put the stick figures in, and then I'll have a descriptive narrative, a very thorough explanation as to what might be going on in here. Because I guarantee you, if you look at it, you're not going to be like, well, what the heck is that? And so Aaron and all the other guys, Tom and Trey and Mariano and all the other people I've worked with have done a great job of anybody that's done interiors. Lakim. I've worked with about 5 or 6 people now, I think. So it's been pretty cool getting to meet everybody and seeing the community, how they respond. And it's easy to get discouraged a lot because you put stuff out there and you want people to receive it and to love it, and to love you and you herald you as the next big thing. And all too often that never happens. And so you got to just stay the course though. And you got to kind of stay in your own lane and do what you're doing, because there's so many people out here in the world and on the internet that you don't have to focus on one area or one group of people or impress them. I was all caught up in trying to submit my stories and my books to all these major publishers when they first came out. And it was neat getting to actually email them and know that they're reading this to some extent. And some of them would respond, some of them never would. But you don't need that. Those companies aren't even going to really do a whole lot for you that you wouldn't have already done yourself in order for them to even take a look at you. So by the time they're interested in what you're doing, you're self-sustaining, or you've just got so much money and people that are part of the project, like big names, that they're just going to want to take it anyways. Oh, who's your artist? Oh, Greg Capullo. Okay, cool. We'll print it. But anybody like me or somebody that's just trying to come up and do something like that, you got to just get out there and put your stuff out there and let people take it and see what they do with it and respond to take that constructive criticism and build from it, and don't get discouraged. There's been plenty of times where I've been like, man, I don't think this is going to work out for me. And but it finds a way, and because I find a way. And so creating is the best. I think in general, just being a creator of something is awesome. I think all people have that ability and the capacity for it at the very least. And so that's how we're built. We're made to create stuff. So but getting to tell stories is awesome. I hope that one day I don't have to clean and press comic books or buy them and resell them. I'd love to just tell my stories, and it's going to take a lot more work to get there though. But there's people out there that are from all different walks of life that have been and that are at different levels of just doing Kickstarter, like exclusive Kickstarters, and having an online built-in audience, and then branching out from there. Doing conventions is a big thing. I did a big horror convention on my birthday this year, back in August. and it was badass. It was so much fun. My mom went out there with me and helped me set up my booth and or help me kind of like hold the fort down, you know.
What was the horror
It
convention?
was all people were dressed up. The Houston Horror Film Festival. It's a big one.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because we got
and they did a really great.
We got podcast buddies, the three geeky dads, but they're like in the I think in the Boston area.
They're in the Northeast.
Right.
Okay.
And they just did a horror convention. I was kind of wondering if it was the same one, but obviously
Close, no cigar.
I
I got to meet people from all over the country though. The guys that were sitting next to me were these independent film guys that did these real gritty, like trauma type movies. They're called the Janus Click. And they had their buddy Wig Wolf with them, and he just did this strange version of Wizard of Oz. And they like to do like the VHS camcorders. They said they get like a better grainy, like authentic picture and feel. And they have all their techniques and stuff they do. Like one of them was like putting Vaseline on the lens,
right?
And different things like that, like home brewed recipes and stuff. And anyways, yeah, it was really fun getting to meet those guys, and I plan to do more stuff like that in the future. I'm really excited about Christmas time in December. I'm doing one called the Indie Con, I think is what it's called. I'm guilty of not having looked into it a whole lot. My buddy told me about these guys, and so I paid them and got my table. And I've been so busy though, I just haven't had a lot of time to really get with anybody. And but I'm super excited. It's all for indie people. It's just it's geared, it's designed for indie creators. So the people that are coming out are looking to support indie creators. It's not like you're going to a horror con and you want to get an autograph from the guy that played Michael Myers, and then you want to just maybe find a Michael Myers t-shirt and get out of there. You could probably care less about what I'm doing, my comic books or my creation or anything. So not to discount anybody in that way. You know, everybody that walks by and stuff, who knows? They might see it and be like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, that's not to say anything like that. But you know what I mean? Though your demographic is targeted with this, whereas with like a horror or a comic con in general, you're more at a disadvantage because people that go to comic cons, they're not necessarily looking for indie creator stuff or just indie stuff in general. They might be looking for just Batman or just the Flash or just Spider-Man, yada yada yada. You know. So this one will be a lot of fun. These people they set up panels for people like myself to get involved in, and like giveaways and raffles, and there's different stuff they have going on, and it'll just be a lot of fun. It'll be the first one I've done since the horror con. And but I've got some other opportunities. I've done some local stuff with the shops around here. They've been super supportive, and I'm just excited to see where we can go from here. The rest of the year is going to be really busy and hectic. So, but if I can come through it on the other side alive and breathing, then I'll find a way to drag myself to the finish line.
Very nice. Very
nice. I will say this: Roseville 2 is going to be a very pivotal comic book for me, because it's one that, like I said, I've kind of come to an impasse with financially, where I just can't quite get there anymore. I've got too much other stuff now on the back end to take care of, and just money is just very tight. And so then I have to pay Aaron, and I got to get covers done, and I got to pay for promotions and different things of that sort. And so if this one doesn't hit its goal, then I'm going to have to really kind of step back and maybe just be a little more patient and try to make everything I've got done, everything that's finished and ready to, print and sell, let that kind of do its due diligence and go to conventions and be online and be visible and generate my money that way. And then I can maybe step back out into that arena and do another book and just kind of move one at a time, and because I stretched myself very, very, I don't know the terminology. I stretched myself too far, whatever. Anyways, I branched out way too far and early on, and tried to just do too much, too ambitious. And it cost me, because there were financial decisions that I made that were not very good, and different, not just financially, but just decisions in general, working with this person or that person or this company or that company, doing something this way, doing something that way. There's been a lot of trial by fire, but it's been awesome though, because here I am, still. And I've still got, the books are doing good, and people are still being supportive. And I'm just really thankful for that, that people have stuck around. still take an interest in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got a question from somebody, and I'm not sure what exactly this means. So maybe you can help us.
I am on IG. Yeah.
Okay,
If you do just like my name there at Kingdom Comics, just put the @ symbol in front of it, and you can find me on there. I'm pretty active on IG. I'm very active on Facebook. You know, I know they say that nowadays that's where the geezers go, but I love Facebook.
Right.
That's what I don't do TikTok and Twitter. I got away from because he changed it to X, and it's just like I don't want to deal with all that anymore. No, and because Twitter already is very hard to get traction on. It's tough, man.
I agree. We've had a hard time getting traction on there.
Yeah,
too, so.
I just had to follow a bunch of people that were like-minded and had different interests, like horror stuff, and grab somebody's thread that like it looks like, oh, that person's got it going on, or they're kind of like me, and then see who's following them, and then follow them, and hope that you can get connected to some people somehow. But it's just, man, that was brutal. So I cut out Twitter, and so I'm just Facebook and Instagram, and then I'm YouTube. Of course, I upload my videos, my little previews there, but that's really about it. So
yeah, the whole social game is quite an interesting. There's an algorithm to it too. I mean, there's just, which ones to use. Why do you start with one or another? Right. Very cool. Very cool. We are coming up on our hour, everybody. Holy cow. I thought it was just like 5 minutes there.
Almost here. Can I plug real quick the End of Man, since you asked me?
Definitely.
Yes, we need to get back to that.
It's about an aspiring astronomer. It's a college student. She's about to be finished with school, and she is out in the woods one day with her father. They're observing looking up in the stars, and a meteorite, boom, hit like not too far away from them, in their area. And her dad gets knocked down because it's shockwave, and he's got a leg issue, so he's got a cane, and he's more susceptible to that. And he falls down. She asks him if he's okay. She wants to go investigate, so she says, yeah, I'll be okay. And she takes off and stumbles across this meteorite, and one thing leads to another, and her life is forever changed. So I don't want to say much more than that, and you can check it out. It'll be ready in about a month. And then but yeah, follow me on IG, find me on Facebook, and hopefully we'll just keep moving forward and in the right direction. So.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, the best place, everybody, if you really want to take a look at all of Jeofrey's work, or really to kind of see he's even got going to come notifications of what's coming ahead, is look at Kickstarter. Jeofrey, is there any other places that people can find you on the internet?
Yeah, I need to update it and keep it be more consistent with it. But my website is active all the time. You can always contact me there, and I'm gonna do my best to get it updated very soon. It's kingdomcomics.com, just like the kingdom spelled a little weird. I tried to be fancy with it and make it like a key comic book in a kingdom, and that's so cool. Oh my god! So right. that's where that came from. But find me on there, and I'm always you can see my other links and stuff, I think, on there too, for Facebook and Instagram.
Very nice.
Nice. I went ahead and added it to the chat
thanks,
everywhere. Yeah, that's going to be on our Facebook pages, everybody. Also our Twitch page, Facebook, YouTube, so you can find that, so everybody can get the link to there. So
very good. All
right. Right on. Well, Jeofrey, it's been great having you with us. Thank you so much. I mean, I've been totally fascinated. Who knew? Here we are going October, thinking, oh, we'll talk about some horror comics. This will be really good. Mike's like, oh, I got another indie guy. I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. Wow, boy, we really rolled into all kinds of different things about comic books. I had no idea, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, man, no problem. Like I said, I told you earlier, I'm a little long-winded, so as long as I didn't steal the show away from anybody, but it seemed like we had a good back and forth. So there's a lot to talk about with this stuff. So like I said, it's a full-time grind for me between these different facets of the business, and it's been a really fun ride, and I'm just hoping to keep riding that wave and see where it takes me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is inspiring. I will say that. I appreciate some of the things that you've stated today, just about being creative, that we're all meant to be creative. I love that. and it is just an incredible outlet. But one of the other things that you mentioned is just the whole keeping on. That was the whole thing of, you've had times where you're like, oh my goodness, but then you're like, no, you found a way to make these things work. And so I think that's encouraging for anybody out there that you're interested in doing this. Obviously, connect with Jeofrey. He's got, it sounds like you just got an incredible network of people. And I would like to say that keep us updated, if you would, please, especially when you start getting Roseville 2 ready. Once you get through the Kickstarter stuff that you need to get through, everybody, there's rules about Kickstarter. Just saying. That's one other thing I learned today.
I don't know a lot about Kickstarter, so you learned me on that too.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be more like the Wild West. Just let me do what I want to do, but
you're right. Everybody's got their rules.
It's fair though. They want to make sure that, because they're like fun. They're like creating a way for somebody to give you money and stuff, and for something that technically might never come to fruition. And it says all that, in the beginning. But they want to make sure that they're trying to do as best they can to make sure that people are being taken care of before they pay you more money. I think that's fair.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yep. Excellent. All right. Well, any other final thoughts, Mr. Mike?
Just go check out Jeofrey. Go check out his Kickstarter and his Facebook and all that good stuff, and just learn more about him. Also, if you've made it this far, please make sure and go give us a like and subscribe. Go like us on Facebook and follow us on Facebook, and follow us here on YouTube, and click the little bell. Give the bell a tickle so that you get notifications of every time we go live. We are live pretty much every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You do the math on the rest, because I don't like math. And apparently I'm bad at telling people Central Standard Time, but I think I did a good job with you, Jeofrey, today, making sure that you understood that it was Central Standard Time.
I had to learn that myself, because I'm on the sales and stuff. You got to do the CST, Central Standard Time, and Central, and
right.
You'll type it out, and people will still be like, what is it? What time? And that's
right. So yes,
it's not just us, Mike.
That's good. That's good, because apparently I told Carissa, I didn't tell Carissa last week Central Standard, and she was an hour early, and we weren't even on yet. So
I was like, oops.
All right, that's all I got. Steven?
All right. Well, real quick, everybody, I want to make sure, please check us out at our page, www.2geeksmike.com. That's the number 2, GEEKSMIC.com. There you'll find all things 2 Geeks, and be sure to check us out there. You can get to our merch page, plus our Ko-fi page. That's where you can support us if you're curious about that. That is ko-fi.com/2geeks, 2 Geeks. And anything there that just with the support, we have the $1, $2, and $3 tiers. That's just to help us just do the show and meet all these incredible people. So it's been fabulous. If you want to reach out to us, please check us out at show@2geeksmike.com. Shoot us an email. If there's a topic or anything you'd like to chit chat about, let us know. We take them all into consideration. We love kind of branching out into new things. So, all right. Well, with that, Mike, I am good. Jeofrey, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having you here with us.
Yeah, you too, guys. And hopefully I'll come back on whenever everything else gets rolling and unveiled, and I'm a little further along in my journey. I'll come back and touch base with you guys, hopefully.
That'll be great. That would be great. We'd love it.
We look forward to it. All right. With that said, thank you guys for joining us, and see you next week. Jeff and Zig will be with us next week from Nerdery and Murdery. We'll be talking a little Darth Bane. I'm looking forward to that. And then Jeff's got some kind of special murdery
stories.
So we'll see what happens. It's supposed to tie in with either St. Louis or Montana, one of the two. So we'll find out next week, because Jeff's very secretive on that stuff. So
he's not telling us nothing.
He doesn't tell us nothing. He just says, I got it. So tune in next week to see what Jeff has for his murdery stuff. All right. With that said, over and out, and may the force be with you always. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,
May the force be with you.